Well, happy Saturday, folks. The real Captain Kirk here. We're live from One Bethlehem Plaza here in downtown Bethlehem here on the 16th of November. Lots to talk about today. We're going to talk about snow, fires, tropics, polar vortex, even flu. So look at the flu season here as of today here. So again, much slower start than we've had in previous years here. So map far left, again, very few spots are just starting to ramp up, maybe in the southeast, mid-Atlantic, Ohio Valley. But compared to look at the epic season in 2022 when flu was surging to a Thanksgiving record peak. This year, much slower start, slowest start in 3 years, well below baseline. So again, a healthier population out there, so that's some good news. Not so good news is a big fire down toward Los Angeles that's burning thousands, tens of thousands of acres, and even got a big one here in Massachusetts that's burned a couple thousand acres. So several fires here from up and down the Appalachians into the Northeast. Good news is we're going to get some rain here to put these fires out, hopefully, at least in the east, over the next week or so. Looking year-to-date wildfires burned here, as of current right now, about 24% above average. Again, making it the most back to 2020, so most in 4 years. Again, about 8.1 million acres burned, versus last year we had no fire season, one of the least in over 30-plus years, with only 2.6 million acres burned. Unfortunately, next year our outlook shows we think about the worst since back to 17 or 15, with upwards of 8.9 million acres burned and well above average at 36%. That's our year ahead projection. So an active season this year could be even more active next year across the U.S. Look at world season to date snowfall here. Again, this is kind of a model interpolated as to what we think has happened here from 1 September to 16 November, but very heavy snow across much of Siberia and parts of Alaska, Greenland, extreme far northern Canada up toward the poles here. So if we look at this map versus season to date versus last year, all those dark pinky purples are in the 300% or more range, so 3 times as much snow as we had last year. Less snow across the northern plains and obviously the northeast Great Lakes area, but that may be changing here. Look at season date here, again, according to NOAA here in the U.S. Again, most heavy snow has obviously been in the Rockies. Snow cover here this morning is about 9% of the country. Again, mostly the western half of the country, and versus last year, only 3%. So an uptick from last year, and again, that's kind of, as we've seen more snow across northern hemisphere, again, we'd expect to see cooler and snowier trends here in the U.S. this year. Looking at this is a snowfall index here. The bars are just where we say much snowier than last year. The blue line is kind of a U.S. population snowfall index. So this week, again, we're actually headed for our snowiest week nationally that we've had so far this season, and then a downturn as we go to the week of Thanksgiving here. So again, a few weeks in a row here of snowier year-on-year conditions. Hurricane season's only got about 2 weeks left here, but again, we're going to get one more potential system here. We've got Tropical Storm Sarah, probably going to weaken as it goes across Mexico to a depression, and then maybe re-energize as it goes into the Gulf of Mexico here. So this is Sarah, again, going to weaken as it goes over Mexico and then re-emerges in the Gulf, and it will get caught up in this cold front that's sweeping the country here midweek this week. So again, Sarah will probably get pushed into the Florida Panhandle or southeast, and then we'll see if it comes up the East Coast here. But right now, model suggesting maybe just another storm. We'll see. The waters are still about 85 degrees there in the Gulf, so still some potential. So we see that here in the 14-day storm track here. Again, you see that weakens as it goes across Mexico, maybe re-energizes against the Gulf, gets caught up in this cold front, and brings some heavy rain to Florida and the southeast. And then this bigger storm system here. Again, first snows of the season. We'll talk about that in detail here with the Ohio Valley, Appalachians, West Virginia, and New England, again, getting some of their first flakes for many here as we go through the 14-day outlook here. We'll stop on Thanksgiving here. So a chilly morning, Thanksgiving morning, below freezing in the east, and then high temperatures in the 30s and 40s for most of the northern tier. So kind of a cooler Thanksgiving. Not as cold as last year. Last year was very cold. If we look at the polar vortex here, it's important. It's showing some signs of being weaker. Ragged. You see a couple pulses here spinning off of this thing. So it's kind of like a tornado, big one at the North Pole that goes up 50-plus thousand feet in the atmosphere. But again, when it's strong and symmetrical, it keeps the cold air at the North Pole. When it weakens like this, you can see a couple of perturbations heading toward Asia and one toward the Great Lakes Northeast. So again, minor. Again, it's not a full-on onslaught here, but again, enough that a wobble to give us some colder conditions. Look at last week ending here today, the 16th of November. Here in the U.S., 0.6 warmer than last year, warmest in 8 years, fourth warmest in 39 years. 66% wetter than last year, 16th wettest in 39 years, so above average on that front. So again, pattern has definitely changed here from the extremely dry September, October. Snowfall, while 150% more than last year's non-existent snow, is still fifth least in 39 years. Cold spot would be there in Europe, where it was the coolest in 5 years. Brazil down under was also coolest in several years, well below average. maps. Inset left are the trends versus average. Looking at this week prior to Thanksgiving here. So this was the Thanksgiving week period a year ago, but Thanksgiving's late this year. Here in the U.S., we're a cooler week, 1.1 cooler than last year, 13th warmest in 39 years. Again, transitioning from a warm ahead of this cold front coming through midweek and then colder as we go through the latter half of the week, even in the east. Looking at snowfall, about 41% more than last year, still 13th least in 39 years, but still some heavy snow in the Pacific Northwest. And again, first snows, we'll show that in detail here in the Ohio Valley, Appalachians, and New England. 11% wetter than last year, wettest in 9 years, 8th wettest in 39 years. So again, we'll take it. This is definitely putting a big dent in the extreme drought conditions that we've had as of late. Look at the 6-day snowfall trends here. Again, this is the 16th through the 21st here. So here today, again, some snow in the Rocky Mountains. Sunday, again, a little bit more in the northwest. And then it gets really heavy there on Monday. High elevations, they're getting plastered out there with feet of snow here in the Pacific Northwest. Typical La Nina. Tuesday, Wednesday, again, see some of that moving into the upper plains, Midwest, and then again light again, but many areas there in Indiana, Ohio may actually see an inch or two of snow and even several inches in the high elevations of West Virginia. So the 6-day snowfall trend here, again, 388% more than last year, 15th least in 39, but snow for about 37% of the U.S. population here. Look at Thanksgiving week, hard to believe it's coming real fast here, but last full week of November here, so it's late this year. Temperatures a little bit warmer. Last year was just a very coldest in a decade. Thanksgiving week, so 6.4 warmer than last year, 13th warmest in 39 years, above average temperatures. Snowfall way down 80%, least in 7, third least in 39. So again, some in the high elevations of the west, and again, maybe some lingering high in the New England area. Rainfall, again, still way up, 94% over last year, 20th wettest in 39 years. So again, good news, again, putting a dent in this extremely dry conditions that we've had across the country. Put out those fires there, and the humidity and moisture will definitely help with the big fire in New England. World 2-week outlook here, again, so just aggregating the trends. You've got to be careful because we've got warm weather this week ahead of the front and then cold behind the front. So it's, again, very volatile, fast pattern. These maps are, again, versus average rainfall, inset versus average. Again, we see all this precip across the north is obviously not rain, but snow. Again, so heavy snows continued across, expanding across Canada, and maybe not as much in Siberia. But again, first snows of the season here for some here in the Ohio Valley, Great Lakes, New England. So that, folks, have a great week. Talk to you next week.